A few days ago, a new national security law was passed in Hong Kong. It's designed to crack down on internal dissent against the Chinese government in Beijing. It includes 39 new national security crimes, and its measures include establishing penalties like life imprisonment for treason and insurrection. It targets offenses like external interference and theft of state secrets. And so this is a big deal because Hong Kong is an international business center. When you're broadly targeting something like theft of state secrets, and you understand how much China's government wants to have a stranglehold on the information that gets out of the country, you're going to concern these banks and these consulting companies on accurately communicating what's going on in Hong Kong and in China to its international counterparts and customers. So, according to CNN, the language of the law defines a state secret as information concerning the construction of national defense and diplomatic or foreign affair activities of China to any major policy decision on affairs and the, quote, economic or social development of both Beijing and Hong Kong. I said a lot of words there. Basically, it means everything. Any kind of information about China that they have, the economic or social development, that means how is the economy? If they want to accurately report on it and they maybe have different ideas of what the numbers are than what the Chinese government is producing, and the Chinese government is known to produce inaccurate statistics all the time to make themselves look stronger, they're not allowed to do that. Or if they do, they're threatened with jail time. So I got interested in the historical context here because Hong Kong for a long time has been this gateway to China, where obviously it borders China. It's historically been part of China since before the 19th century. They have a lot of really close connections to Chinese businesses, but it's also been kind of a safe haven for Western culture and ideology in a lot of ways that has attracted a lot of people to it. So in the 1840s, Hong Kong became a territory of the United Kingdom after the Opium Wars. But then in the 1970s, a whole movement towards decolonization was happening, and Deng Xiaoping, who was the leader of China at the time, was like, we need Hong Kong. Hong Kong is obviously Chinese territory. We need sovereignty of it. But Margaret Thatcher, who was the leader of Britain, was like, we signed these treaties and there's nothing to say they shouldn't stand, so we're going to have to negotiate it to figure out what's going to happen to Hong Kong. We're not just going to give it to you for free. So what happens is right before negotiations start, China passes an amendment to its constitution to allow for special administrative regions, which would have a high degree of autonomy. Basically, it means the special administrative regions are almost their own country, with the exceptions of getting defense from the Chinese military and being diplomatically represented by China in some international diplomacy. So after the negotiations, the Brits were like, okay, if you give Hong Kong this much autonomy, we're fine with you having it. So China gets technical authority over Hong Kong as a special administrative region, but Hong Kong still maintains its own legislature. It's allowed to be free market capitalist, even though the rest of China is communist. It gets its own currency, its own legal system, its own police forces, its own immigration policies. In almost every way, it's its own country. And because of that, it maintains a lot of freedoms as far as freedom of speech, freedom of the press. It's a democracy, whereas China quickly devolves into autocracy. In 1997, Hong Kong becomes fully back under control of China, and instantly they're thinking that they want to introduce laws like this. They want to bring Hong Kong to heel, bring it in line with the overall Chinese narrative that's going out to the rest of the world. So in 2003, they're looking to introduce these types of laws, but there are massive protests. Hundreds of thousands of people in Hong Kong take to the streets. And the authorities get scared. They back down because they think they're going too far and they think they might lose control, get overthrown. So they delay. And then they wait for over a decade until about 2019 when this comes back into the conversation. And again, massive protests. Yeah. Big protests for women's rights are happening. And so again, the legislature backs down. But in this time, 2019 and beyond, like Xi Jinping had been consolidating more and more power as the Chinese dictator. So by 2020, the Hong Kong legislature and their leader they're working for Xi. And so they're looking for opportunities to pass these laws to make Xi happy. And in 2020, they passed the first version of the national securities laws. These are largely seen to have brought Hong Kong further to heel under Beijing. Since then, Hong Kong hasn't really been viewed as an independent country, which it had been before that. So now this law goes even further, fills in any of the gaps that might have existed in 2020. I don't want to go too far. So what I actually think this will do is I think it will have effect on the margins for companies operating in Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. There are still economic benefits there, right? Hong Kong taxes are much lower. It is still a capitalist free market economy as opposed to China's. And it still does have its connections to China. But this means that Hong Kong is no longer a safe haven that companies can operate in, as opposed to China, where the government will come and make a billionaire leader disappear for months. That can happen in Hong Kong now. So that safety is no longer there. I don't think that's going to change a ton of business activity, because they're still just going to be making these decisions in terms of dollars and cents.
Yeah. I mean, I will say it seems to go against the Chinese goal over the last year here, where they've been really trying to massage international investors and make them feel comfortable about coming into China again, right?
Yeah.
Like they went to Davos, they went to San Francisco in the United States. They've been really trying to lead these business leaders back into China and make them feel like it's okay. This goes against that.
Yeah, I will say, I think even in that time, China has been saying one thing and doing another.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want to convince these business leaders that it's okay. And the thing is, the business leaders want to believe
Yeah,
them.
they want it to be okay so bad.
Yes.
They so badly want it to be okay.
Yeah, but it's just not.
It's just not.
For that reason, I think it's a smart move by Xi. What it doesn't do to businesses, I think it will have maybe more of an effect on the people living in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
They've seen themselves as more aligned with the West, values-wise, right? And so these people now are going to, even if their freedom of thought can still be there, their freedom of speech has been significantly lessened.
Significantly.
And that is going to bother people. I think it's going to make it a less attractive destination for talent.
Definitely.
Although it'll still be attractive to people in China, right? It'll still be an upgrade for people in China that want more freedoms and coming to Hong Kong.
That's fair.
So we'll see. I think it's one of those things. It's one of those policies that is going to be upstream of people's behavior further down the road. It's going to be like, okay, now if someone's trying to leave China, more of them are going to start deciding to go to Canada rather than Hong Kong.
Yes, going to Canada, coming to the United States. It's going to act on the brain drain too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's an interesting, it's a clear geopolitical move that's been happening. Like, right, we can check this off in terms of this is China grabbing a little bit more power over another territory.
Yeah.